Hi, I'm Dr. Rich. I'm teaching you about dentistry and teeth so you can have a very nice smile.
Today we're going to be replacing this broken old silver filling. Let me circle that for you so you can see which one I'm talking about. Part of it's missing there. It's a pretty thin one. Silver filling materials tend to be brittle, and especially when they're that thin, so that's most likely why it broke. So there's still part of it left in there, and then you can see some decay, that big hole there. So first step, using my high-speed handpiece, once the patient is nice and numb and I'm isolated with a ISO dry, I'm going to remove what's left of the silver filling and then just kind of clean up the edges of the cavity prep, just to remove any unsupported enamel back underneath that filling, because white fillings, the hole you drill for a white filling is going to be different than for a silver filling. Silver fillings don't bond to the tooth. They're actually retained by mechanical retention. What that means is the hole has to be wider at the base and narrower at the top to keep the silver filling from falling out. Versus a white filling, uses a bonding agent, basically a glue, to get it to stick to the tooth. But the tooth has to be clean and it has to be dry. You can't actually have any saliva contamination, any moisture on it when you're placing it. So now there's a little bit left of that silver filling. Back to the high speed after using the slow speed to help remove some of the base material and some of the decay. The two drills cut at different rates of speed. A high-speed handpiece cuts very, very fast, so dentists will use that to cut through the enamel. The slow speed, which is what I'm using right now, cuts much slower, and so I will use that when I'm removing cavities, removing old base material, anywhere where I'm worried I'm getting close to the nerve, because that way I have a better tactile feel with that and I can cut better. So now we got it all cleaned up. A little bit left there underneath, right there, that little brown you can see there. Now, I'm not going to remove all the staining. So what happens underneath an old silver filling is a lot of times there will be this filling material itself. The silver filling will stain the tooth underneath it. So the silver in the amalgam will tarnish and leave that kind of dark staining down deep in the deeper parts of the tooth. And again, I check it, make sure it's nice and hard, nice and firm. There's no soft, mushy areas, which will mean that there's a cavity, but we'll leave anything nice, firm, and soft, and we'll just cover that up with the new filling. So now it's all cleaned up. Let's get my light yellow filter on my headlight, and now we're adding the bonding agent. Again, I'm using a Surpass 3-bottle system. First brush, the green brush, is Surpass 1. Basically, that's the acid etch step of it. Then three coats of Surpass 2, which neutralizes and primes it, gets it ready. And once those are on there, the instructions call, just dry it really, really thoroughly. So I'm just using my air water syringe, just the air part of it, to dry it really well. Then I'm going to add a coat of the Surpass 3, which is the actual glue. It's basically just a very runny composite resin liquidy that doesn't have any filler material in it. So it can adapt to all the little nooks and crannies. And then we'll hit it with my Velo Grand curing light for 10 seconds. And then once that's set up, then the next step, so this is what's called a class 1 filling. So it's basically just on the biting surface. So I don't have to worry about using any matrix bands to build up a wall of the tooth. I'll add a layer of flowable composite. I'm using PermaFlow by Ultradent. That just gets down into all the little nooks and crannies, and I'll build that up a little bit more. So I'm going to do another couple layers of it. Each layer I'm going to also cure with the curing light for 10 seconds. And there we go. Put a little bit more. Now, I've been using Titan, made by Apex Vista, but this last time I ordered some PermaFlow to give it a try. I think I'm going to go back to the Titan. It's got it's a little stiffer to me. The PermaFlow is nice, but it's a little too runny. So when the person's reclining a bit, I put it on the mesial and it tends to, I put it towards the front of the tooth and it tends to run down towards the back of the tooth before I can zap it with the curing light. Got a little bit on the occlusal surface on the outside where I didn't want it, so I had to brush that away. So now that I basically replaced the deep parts of the cavity hole, the cavity prep, the hole in the tooth, now I can put a final layer of my paste composite and with my composite instrument, my plastic instrument. Again, I like to use Vital Essence. I like how it looks once I'm all done with it, and I actually like how it handles too. And I will dip my instrument in seam free to make it even easier to place it. And now I'm just putting in a little bit, taking some time, shaping it just how I like it. Just taking a little time to shape it as best that I can before I zap it with the curing light for 10 seconds. Once that's cured, then I'll add the next increment, and we'll just keep on doing it and building up in pieces. So now we did that one corner. Sorry about that. Now let's do the next little corner. And I'm laying my instrument against what's left of the tooth structure that's remaining, to help shape the sides of the cusps, the cusp slopes, so that hopefully I don't have to adjust the bite too much. But usually what ends up happening is, using those cusp slopes, you get kind of like an idealized tooth shape, which doesn't account for any wear and tear the patient's had, and you end up having to trim it down more so to get the bite right. But it's better than having it too low and then the person bites down and they're not touching on the tooth at all, and then the tooth ends up shifting until it does touch. So third increment, putting it up against in the back there, shaping it to the others, and you can already see that it's the first two that I placed. When the composite's not cured, you can see it's contrast with the tooth, but once it's cured, it blends right into the tooth structures. So that's one reason I like the Vital Essence. It's not opaque. It does have some translucency to it. It's not as translucent as the Omnichroma, which disappears on whatever color tooth you put it on, but it works pretty well. And again, another 10-second cure with my Velo Grand to set that up. Once that's all done, now we're getting ready to clean it up. So first, while I still have the iso dry in there, I'll just take my Explorer and just feel around, make sure there's no gaps, there's no little holes or anything. So that all feels good. Let's do another last 10-second cure before we take the iso dry out and adjust the bite on it. So this person, we had to give him a mandibular block on the bottom. To get that tooth numb, we had to get every tooth on the bottom numb. So let's have her bite down on some articulating paper. I like to use troll foil, and there you can see the blue spots where it's touching. But because they're numb, it's going to vary from person to person, but a lot of people can't actually tell me if the bite's still high or not. Some will have a vague sense. Some are actually pretty good. So this person is actually pretty good, and she could still tell me, I'm still feeling it. So again, we just have her bite down, and the articulating paper is just a blue carbon paper. It just leaves a little blue dot where the teeth touch, and then that shows me where to adjust it. And I'll have people bite straight up and down, but then also I'll have them bite and kind of grind side to side, because it's not just the straight up and down where you want them to see if they're hitting, but also if those slopes are off a little bit too, then when they go to chew, it's going to put weird pressures on the teeth, which could cause a tooth to crack, cause the filling to crack, or it could just cause some discomfort and they'd have to come back for an adjustment. So we try to take care of all that while they're here. Sometimes though, you never know. You don't realize it until once the Novocaine wears off and then you start eating something, that there's a lot of positions you put your mouth in that when you're chewing, that you don't think about it, your mouth just does it, so that you don't notice it sometimes. Now I'm just cleaning off the blue marks, and then we final polish with a Jiffy polisher, and she's good to go home. I always tell people too, you're gonna be numb another 3-4 hours. Don't bite your lip, don't bite your tongue. Okay, there it is. See ya.